Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Mitch. I am the ex-J-Dub or EXJW, ex-Jehovah's Witness. So, yeah, that's who I am. I welcome you back to another episode. I believe this is episode 9. Moving on along there. This episode will be the first of many. And by what do I refer to? Um, the first of many question and answers that I'll do. And I'm like multitasking. I'm doing like so many things. I'm talking to people about like what I'm doing, um, things I'm setting in place for our community. So I have so many things going on right now. Good things, positive things. But yeah, I wanted to begin taking questions from my listeners, and I got a good response yesterday. It hit me to post about it yesterday, and I'll do that more often too. But I got 7 real good questions that I will address. None of it is scripted. This is coming like just right off of my head. I didn't want to like script too much. I want it to be real. I think that's how I'll keep it feeling real and authentic. If I'm just asked, like reading the question and answering you without too much forethought. I think to me, that's more authentic and real and believable. There was one subject I did need to just skim over something real quick, um, because the question they ask is like kind of a detailed question. And so I'll be like peeling back a couple of layers on that. So I wanted to just skim. So I had it in my head, but we'll get to that question and I'll let you know which one that is. But the remember like the main thing, and I don't know if you saw the videos. I think episode 8, the one right before this one. I'm explaining the new subscription format that I'll go to. So when questions get like too, when it can go in a direction where I just need to be very, very frank, I'm gonna put it on one of my subscription based episodes where if you're a monthly subscriber, you get like the real like down to it, nitty gritty answers, however pretty or however ugly they may be, talking about that cult, that organization, Jehovah's Witnesses. It'll just be like a real true answer. And that's why I decided to put it on the subscription um, format so that I can kind of better monitor who listen. Because as I mentioned on episode 8, sometimes I get like these teens that are like 17 and 18 and they're really trying to decide what they want to do with their life. So I found there are several of them that listen to my social media videos, to my podcast. So they're at a pivotal point in their life, and like sometimes they need to know. And I talk about the bad parts of the organization on my normal videos on social media, but some details, they're young. I don't want them to hear too much. So for that reason, and also social media is highly censored. I can't talk as freely on those subjects that a lot of you all want me to answer about. So that's why I decided to go to the subscription base for some episodes. But like for this episode, they're pretty general questions. So I'll leave it. Um, I'll leave it on the regular episode list for my podcast. Nothing too crazy in there. But yeah, that's what I wanted to do is just get started. I try to answer as much as I can, like on social media, and I try to comment. I try to respond to every comment that I get, but I feel this way I can give longer, detailed comments because when I comment on a post, for instance, I'm just trying to make it short but to the point, and I'm also highly watching what I say. I've had some of my comments um, flagged before. Like I'm just answering as straight as I can, and then like I'll come to that post, and it tells you if you have comments that need to be approved. So I click it, and one of my responses to someone had been flagged and was waiting for me to review it. So it's like I have to choose my words very carefully. Another reason why I decided to go for some episodes to that subscription only for those, so I can just talk as freely as I want. Sometimes I have a potty mouth. Sometimes especially if one of those cult members trigger me, um, like some words are just gonna fly. So yeah, sipping coffee, about to answer questions. Question number one, and for this one, nobody really said anything, but I still didn't really want to leave any names. I think a couple more of these, hopefully you all put if you mind your name being mentioned or leave me anonymous for this episode because I didn't really get to talk to anyone. I'll just leave everyone anonymous for now. But okay, so first question. What is the meaning of new light? So when I was in and very active and I was like a soldier for that cult because I was all in. When you are in that organization slash cult and there's any um, new beliefs that the governing body um, they've had, or anything that they need to adjust the thinking on, you know, um, is considered new light. Now, when I was all in that organization, when you heard that phrase, new light, there was like a frenzy, and I'm not even exaggerating. There was like a frenzy that went on between the members when they heard that. And I mean, they would text you or call you or run up to you at the Kingdom Hall, and especially like texts come to mind, like when say a broadcast come out, and I mean, I would get people texting me like, "Oh my goodness, did you hear what the governing body said now?" Or "There's new light on this one. You really have to see it. You have to watch it because the broadcasts usually they give like their little 10 to 15 minute talk at the beginning." Um, I used to always joke with my family, and I would say that's the medicine part of it. Whatever point they're trying to get across, they force feed that medicine on you, and then they give you like the teaspoons of sugar uh, bouncing around the world, or a new song that they've come up with. So that first talk, man, it would be a frenzy if it was something that they've concluded about the governing body. They've reached a conclusion after so much prayer. So it's like this frenzy that goes on. An example of new light, the word generation. Like when I was young, it was always that generation that was alive in 1914 when they said Christ began to rule in heaven as king. So any human on earth at that time period, 1914, that this generation will not pass before the end comes. And so that was the thinking. Like that's what they had us thinking for decades. And y- y- people base different choices in their life off of that bull jump. And it's like, you know, people didn't take the jobs that they probably should have. They didn't get the education that we should have beyond high school, all because of like that teaching. That generation wouldn't pass. And in your head you're like, wow, like, it's the 70s, it's the 80s. People that were around in 1914, they're getting old. This system don't have, long to last. So that's the mindset you have. And then as years keep rolling by and conventions keep rolling by and here we are still. And they changed that word generations. And I remember it was in a broadcast and he was trying to explain and this extensive research that they've continued to do. And so it wasn't talking about one generation. And they gave an example of a Bible character. And, you know, his contemporaries overlapped into his generation. And I'm like, here we go. Because I already had doubts and questions. That was a huge one. That, like, okay, these people are really, really getting old now. The system is still here. Like, what's up? And, they had this big change. Generations can overlap. So it's extended. And that was some new light for the cult members. And now talking to so many ex witnesses, it's like things like that always like it bothered me. And when I'm looking at um, that broadcast and when they're doing all that, and yeah, it's new light to a person that's out of the cult and looking in on it because you see things differently, you see things clearly. When they say new light, that just means, oh boy, we've effed up. How can we spin this to make them believe it? Like that's basically what new light is. A lot of times at work, um, what do they call it? CYA. You cover cover your buttocks, and that's what they do basically with new light. Like, oh man, some of the cult members are starting to get hip to us. Like we hear the murmuring, we hear the questions. So they always say, I'll never forget. They said when the governing body comes out with a new light or a new direction, they some decisions they've spent years of prayer and meetings as the governing body talking about it. And going over some of these cases, and within the last 2 weeks, I've posted some cases, um, like court decisions that went against the organization and how they backpedaled and tried to implement new changes. So a lot of this time, man, they are chronic liars, and the longer you've been out, and like I said, you're looking in to that cult, you'll see like they're just chronic liars, the governing body and their helpers, and yeah. New Light is just them backpedaling, trying to um, readjust the members' thinking. And you know what the members say when it's New Light? The ones who don't really think and they just follow blindly because that's what they tell you to do is follow the governing body, even if it seems strange to you. You do what we say. So most of the time, the majority of the people, when it's new light, they're like, "Oh my goodness, we are so blessed. Jehovah is really with the governing body. You can see his hand in matters." Like they are thankful to be lied to be deceived. Like to them, it proves that like the new light is coming from God. And so they are happy, they are proud, and they're buzzing around. Did you hear the new light? Did you hear the adjustment on this? Did you hear the adjustment on that? And like I said, it's a frenzy go on. And you might think I'm exaggerating, but I'm being serious. Like people already bugged me when the broadcast came out. When I was in, it came out the first Monday of every new month. So, the month change whenever that first Monday is, that's when the new broadcast came out. And like, man, people already bugged me like, "Oh, did you broadcast out? You had a chance to watch it?" And I mean, I'm like, they just put it up on the website like an hour ago. I'm working, and oh, you had to look at it. Some new light, and every time I heard that, I'm like, here comes some more bullshit. And yeah, imagine my phone, like how much it was buzzing um, when the governing body update came out about beards and facial hair. My phone was like, I got so many text messages that day from just different witnesses. And, again, they aren't we blessed? Like, that Jehovah gave them, um, like, helped them to come to that decision about facial hair. And I'm like, I highly doubt Jehovah gave them a vision or a dream, all of them collectively about facial hair. It's okay now. Let them have beards. No, that was like I said, they always do damage control. And myself and quite a few people feel that was just them. Numbers are dwindling. And that's them trying to well, we're not so strict, we're not so conservative, and you know, brothers can grow facial hair, and if you don't have a part on a meeting or an assignment that warrants it, you don't even have to wear a stoop coat or a necktie anymore. And yeah, my phone was going crazy that day. It was like new light frenzy. So that's what new light is. Whenever you hear to an active witness, it is Jehovah is with the governing body and Jehovah is with us. We are the only one true religion that he still communicates to. New light to an outsider is they had to backpedal on something. They had to change the meaning of something so that there can still be witnesses making contributions, helping them financially. So we came up with some new light. So when you hear us talking and teasing and mocking about new light, that's what it is. The second question, this was interesting, and like I said, I want to just answer things when I look at them, like on an episode for you. And it says, "What can I have faith in if not God or religion? Like, what can I have faith in?" And it's like I have, I want to be careful and respectful when I answer this because just talking to so many ex-witnesses, like we all are going down our different paths. We all have um, different ideas and what that means for us personally. And I like to listen to everyone. I don't judge. Someone maybe view things differently than I see them, or they may do things that I'm not going to do personally. Like for instance, a couple of individuals they've messaged me, are you going to church? Do you attend anywhere? And I'm like, no. And they're saying how happy they are attending church, and it's like opened their eyes just hearing different viewpoints and different beliefs. And like I don't knock that if you are a person that needs like that structure or that belief system in you, then like by all means do it. And as I explained to them, me personally, like I'm done with like organized religion. For over 50 years I was in the cult, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and like I'm just enjoying life, exhaling. For over 50 years I lived this structured, fearful life. And now I'm just like beginning to like just enjoy life and see who I am as a person without all that fearful structure built around you like a wall from the world. And so like for me personally, I'm just figuring things out. I'm learning new things about my family and they're learning new things about me. And I'm doing different things that I never done um in that cult. So it's like for me, and another thing for me personally is even when I was a penal or I physically had to go, but mentally my mind was checked out of being in that cult. Even when I was a penal and still attending meetings and doing all my assignments and giving parts on the meeting and public talks, um, I still felt like just thinking about different parts in the Bible. I've always had the belief, and I've always told my wife and children, I don't believe God is as strict as they portray him to be. And the reason I said that is because things they taught us in the Bible, and it's like he dealt with people, and Jesus dealt with people in a loving, kind way. And a lot of times, even in the Bible, they're like destruction for whatever city they were in. One of the prophets would be warning them, and all God would ask is like, just change your thinking, change your ways, and I'll save you and I'll protect you. And that always made me think like a lot of things that they teach in the meetings and at assemblies and conventions. It's basically you do this, you'll be destroyed. You don't do that, you'll be destroyed. And it's just like all this fear mongering. So I've always thought that we can have a relationship with God without all the fear. Like God is a God of love. We saw how Jesus was when he was on earth and how he dealt with people, talked to anyone and everyone about the kingdom and just putting faith in him. So I've always felt like in the back of my mind, like you don't need to be associated with someone to have, or a group, I mean, to have God's favor. Because if you think about it, after the apostles died off, and they call it the Great Apostasy, and Bible students that we're associated with didn't pop up until the late 1800s. And so it's like, you mean to tell me from that period of the apostles dying off to the late 1800s, no one could have a relationship with God? Like, no one could exercise faith in a creator, no one could meditate on things themselves. And so when I think of that question, it's like we're always taught that we have to depend on someone, whether it's God, the governing body, the elders, the congregation. Basically, you can't do anything on your own. You need all these things that you need to um, look at and put faith in. And like, I just never felt that here deep down. I always felt like I had a relationship with God. And like, I was raised in the organization. So I know how important it is for meeting attendance and assemblies and conventions and the film industry. But it's like I've always felt like you can have this relationship with God and Christ, and you can have faith and exercise faith. And I think that's like kind of my answer to your question. Like, for each individual, it means something different as far as our faith and what we want to do now, not being in that cult. And like I said, some choose to go to church. Me, right now, I need to decompress, deconstruct. I'm going off of my relationship and my faith in God and Christ. And I don't need to be in an organized relation to do that. Like, the whole while I was in that religion, they always say we need this relationship, a personal relationship with God. And I've always like held that up high. Like, yeah, it can't be a collective relationship in God, meaning through the congregation. You have to have that personal relationship with God here and here, and also faith in Christ and his ransom sacrifice that he made for us. Because without him, like our salvation wouldn't even be possible. So it's like, I feel you have to have it in here. Like, be your belief system, regardless of what they tell you and how they try to drill it in our heads. You need to have a relationship, but through us. We're your channel to God. Like, that's bull jump. Like, we have to have that faith within us, and you exercise faith, believing in God and believing in Christ and what they say. Like, you have to exercise that in your own mind and heart. You don't need anyone. And that's what I already felt it, but breaking away from that cult, like, you realize it more and more that you don't need them to have a good relationship with God and Christ. And it messed with me for a while because I just felt like something was off, something was wrong. The longer I was out, and the more I mentioned it on a video a few days ago, but the more I was away from it, I was realizing a lot of things that I felt I needed to stick to that organization for, like to keep me out of trouble, to keep me on the straight and narrow path. I felt like I had to be associated with them, but the longer I'm out and the more I'm deconstructing, like, it's within me, like, and it's been within me all these decades. Like, I didn't need to be associated with that organization to live right, to live how I know I should be living. Like, it's been in me all these decades, and the longer I'm away from that organization slash cult, the more I'm realizing, like, it's been me the whole time. So, yeah, exercise faith in yourself, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's like we all, to a certain degree, we have this knowledge on what's in God's word and get another Bible too. Like I've began reading another uh Bible just so I can get a even greater scope on different things because like we all know the New World Translation they use different wording that can change meanings. And so yeah, get another Bible and just start reading it and like become your own belief system. If you want to associate with a church or another religious group, that's totally on you. But I think that's the message that I want to give is that don't feel you have to, but believe in yourself enough to know that I can have a relationship with God, with Christ. I can think how I want to think. I don't need an organized religion. And I think that's the message I want to give. Like, I think that was a great question, you know, because you feel lost at first. Um, like, what do I do now? I'm not running myself ragged, going all these meetings and popping up at people's doors trying to preach. But yeah, have faith in yourself that you'll do the right thing and you'll read, meditate, and come to a good decision on what worship looks like for you individually. Because I can't answer that how it looks for you, but I know what it looks like for me. So I hope that helped. If not, leave me a comment and I'll try to talk about it even more. But I hope that answers your question. The next question, uh, they wanted to know about relationships in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Um, and I was like, what type are you talking about? And they said both family relationships and romantic relationships. Like, what does that look like in the Jehovah's Witness cult? I'll start with the family. Um, when you are a family in the Jehovah's Witness organization, I would say a high percentage of it is appearance. Like when you're at the hall, the Kingdom Masonic Hall, you have to give this appearance, right? Especially if your husband or your father is an elder. It's like the congregation is they view you differently. Like you're supposed to be setting an example for the congregation. And so it's like a lot of it is just fake. I knew, I have friends in the religion and I'll go over their house sometimes for dinner or to spend the weekend with my buddy. And oftentimes, what you saw at the Kingdom Hall was just like this appearance front that they had to put on because they were like totally different at home or away from the hall, which I'm not knocking because when you're, with your family, that's supposed to be a safe place. But I mean, sometimes it would be like, serious crap. Everybody's cursing, or the father is an elder or a servant, and he's like maybe cursing or saying inappropriate jokes, and it's just like that always struck me as weird, and it's like even my family, my friends, they would be like, "Oh my goodness, your parents seem so cool," and the mid to late '80s. Uh, a lot of my friends, they always used to say that we were like the Cosby family, like this perfect family, and you had a perfect parents, and it's like, okay, if that's what you want to think, and not saying that like it wasn't any fighting or cursing or anything like that. We were just a normal family, you know, imperfect, had our own issues individually and as a family. So it's like people only see you at the hall and they assume things, but things go on behind closed doors. And yeah, people act different away from the Kingdom Hall. You have to portray this image um, at the hall, especially if you're an elder or a servant or a pioneer. And so, yeah, everybody's on their best behavior at the hall. And I would say that's the biggest thing to me is people being fake when it came to relationships in the family. Like man, my friends growing up, one of my friends, he went through hell. Um, Growing up, he couldn't wait to turn 18 to move out because it's like his mom, she gave all these great comments at the hall. Father was kind of inactive. He would pop up for memorial or the special talk or make his appearance every quarter at the Kingdom Hall, but it's like she did most of the heavy pulling, and he has siblings too. So I know it's probably like a lot of stress on the mom to basically be the spiritual head of the family because the father was kind of checked out. And so it's like she would be so critical of my friend and always accusing him of something and always accusing the other teens in the congregation of something. And so, like, they had a very, very strained relationship. And like I said, I know that from personally going over to their home. But at the hall, she tried to be like this caring, loving mom. And, she would pioneer every once in a while. And people just ate that shit up. But it's very fake in the Kingdom Hall. And like, the expectations that's put on everybody, you can't really be yourself because it's somebody waiting to criticize every little thing you do. And so, yeah, you have to put up these fronts, um, especially. Sorry, hold on. Let me. Some text you just have to respond to in the moment. Um, but yes, a lot of fakery, especially with the families. That man, the times I've heard like elders' wives talking about their husbands like behind their backs, and it could range from anything from the wife not feeling he spends enough time with her or the family. He's always at meetings, elders meetings, and or it could just be like how what type of head he is. Like they did that a lot. Wives would just talk about their husbands, even if they were elders. And don't let him give attention to some sister in the congregation because you always had the man. When I was growing up, it was always some sister, no matter what congregation we were in, just always up in my father's face, like she had this problem or that problem, or she's going through this with her unbelieving maid at home. It was always something. And, say amen at the end of a meeting, and she's pretty much in my father's face. And like that would trigger my mom. She didn't say anything around my father. But yeah, she would say stuff to other elders' wives, or something would slip out with me or my brother or sister, and it's things like that. It bothers them, but at the hall, what can you do? You smile and walk around. Nothing is wrong. You have to portray this image, but a lot of times you could see the look in people's eyes, that sad, depressed look in their eyes, and the more I'm away from it, the more I notice it. I even posted one of my pictures when I decided I was just done, but I still had to go. And it was a picture of me somebody took of me giving a public talk, and the look in my eyes, just this blank, empty stare. And you see a lot of that in Kingdom Halls because it's a lot of people just sadly have to put up a front. You know, things aren't as perfect as they seem at the Kingdom Hall in a lot of our lives, and so that's how I would describe the family relationships in that organization. Now, the romantic is something totally different. It's like the organization is so high controlled that a lot of times it interfered in a couple's life. For the longest, they were trying to give like pretty much policing what couples could and could not do in the bedroom. And like, a lot of it uh had to do with like oral or anal. And it's like that always bothered me. Um and I'll tell you why. It's because your mate, if you're doing something that they deem as wrong or they have a problem with it, they'll just go to their elders and like blab all your business. And it's like, to me, certain things should be between a couple. Like, I don't want anyone knowing what I'm into. And it's like my first wife, she did that. I did something that should have stayed between us as a couple. And it was something like done to her, and like everything, like at home she was cool with it. We laughed about it. And then a couple of meetings later, I'm pulled back in the back room after a meeting because she said it was bothering her. And so that put them all in our business and asking me all kind of questions. I immediately shut down. And I told them something should not be your business. I could see if I did something wrong or against the marriage. It was freaking with her. And like she had no problem with it. And so I think that puts a huge strain on romantic relationships, um, because it's such a high control, high snitch environment. And what I mean by that is they always put in your head, you need to tell on someone, you know, you let them know what they done wrong, give them a certain amount of time to go talk to the elders to get spiritual healing, and you give them a reasonable enough time, and or else I'm gonna go tell them. And so, like, that snitch mentality, it f's with a lot of relationships because they, being such a high control organization, is too much policing, and that, like, they've lightened their stance on that. What a couple does in a bedroom, they pretty much now backpedaled and said that's between the couple. Like, no shit. But yeah, it's messed up. It messes up a lot of relationships, especially if the couple, if they aren't on the same page. Now, I've seen couples, like, and you know, my wife fortunately let me be myself. I let her be herself. You had those couples in the hall that just had this mutual understanding, and they were down for each other. No snitching going on. Then you had the other couples who there was always something, and one of them up in the elder's face tattling on the other couple. Like, that's BS to me. Like, I just feel, if it's not warranted for, like, a judicial matter in their world, I felt everything else should be handled in house between the couple. Or you have another part of the relationship part is, say you marry your mate, and your mate somehow gets connected to a witness, and they start studying, and then they become, a witness, a Jehovah's Witness. But say the other half of the couple, the other mate, don't want anything to do with it. But again, that organization is a very high controlled organization, and they're constantly going to be putting things in that mate's head, and so then there's a conflict. Like, you know, with holidays, birthdays, the blood issue is a huge one. When you have one half of the couple that is a Jehovah's Witness and the other half is not, I mean, they're just bumping their heads, and so those relationships are very strained. Unless, and I've seen it where the unbelieving mate is 100% on board. Like, yeah, I like the morals, and it keeps you and the kids good, and they don't really fight anything. There are those couples, where one mate is an unbeliever. Um, but for the majority, the time is always going to be some head bumping. And so yeah, in a romantic relationship too, it puts pressure, a lot of it, unnecessary pressure on the couple, because again, I personally feel that the organization, and it trickles down to the elders in your congregation. They just try to police everyone too damn much. Like, to me, that's what it boils down to. So yeah, it's gonna put stress on family relationships and also romantic relationships, because we're all individual people, and we all have, what we feel is right and what is wrong. And you're just gonna rub each other the wrong way. It's that that religion slash cult, it does a lot of dividing for something that's always said to bring love and unity. um it brings a lot of division and pain. It's, you really have to be a strong person to endure it. And like I said, a lot of witnesses, myself included, when I was in that, you just feel defeated and depressed a lot. You can you can never be good enough for someone, and that translates into my answer to that too. You can never be good enough for someone if you're a Jehovah's Witness. So in the family, that like children, they're always going to find something wrong or that you did wrong. As a mate, a marriage mate, one of them always going to like nitpick and find something wrong, and that's just the mentality they drill in you, that no matter what you do, you can never do right. So that spills over into relationships, whether it's family or romantic. It's yeah, I get along with, I think my family, to me, I get along even better now because I was a servant, so I had to always like, you had to live a certain way. But now they see me just uninhibited, not worrying, not caring, and I think it's improved like our relationship because you're not living that high stress life. And yeah, I think it messes up relationships, and anything that's supposed to be bringing you closer to God, if it's messing up relationships, like that's a red flag. At least for me, it is. Um, Next question, interesting. Stock investments. So investments that the organization have made. One for me is weird that they play the stock market. If they put it like this, if what they are preaching and teaching is the imminent destruction of this system of things, and you are telling members like, don't get higher education, learn a trade. This is gonna, whatever trade you learn, it's gonna trickle over into the new world, and you'll keep on, doing whatever you're doing in the new world. But it's imminent. It's coming soon, any day. We're in the final part of the last days. So if they are teaching everyone that mentality, then why are they playing the stock market game if this system is about to go down any second now, according to them? So to me, that raises a red flag. Like, what do you know that we don't know that you feel comfortable enough? And we're talking like major shares in different companies. The other part of the question is, when it comes to them playing the stock market game, why are some of their investments in companies that are known to deal with the military or known to make weapons or military aircraft? Like, why are they investing in companies like that? Now, the meat answer to that is they're all about money. The governing body and that organization sitting on billions, and like they're mostly real estate. But then I started hearing more and more about the stock market and looking into it. And yeah, we're talking about major shares in these companies. And they have a portfolio and different companies, but like when we see investing in companies like that, dealing with war or the military, it raises red flags. Like, why would you be associating yourself with it when you're preaching, being separate from the world, we're no part of the world. We don't do war with anyone, but why would you be supporting it? And I I read some, and I think this was a witness or a witness sympathizer. I cannot remember, but they commented on a post, and they were like, um, perhaps it was a portfolio. When you do a lot of these plans, you don't really know where they're going to direct the money. So it was more than likely a portfolio, and these companies were wrapped into it. And like to me, that's a cop out because I'm not saying it couldn't happen that way. I'm just saying when I picked things before, I kind of got an idea of the portfolio and where it was going and what the possibilities were. And so knowing who they are, the governing body, and how they like to get the little grubby hands on money, I just see them being like putting buying shares in these different companies because like they're about money, and those companies, the military companies, and uh, that's a lot of money. And like one, for instance, it was like over 50,000 shares, over 50,000. Like that's a lot of money invested. And I just think, that's how they flip money. They try to keep the members off of the internet as much as they can, saying it's a great tool, but it's harmful things on there. And I think that's one of the things they never wanted to get out on who they were investing with. And oh, by the way, I do have the link to like what I'm going off of. So if you want the link, and it's all like public information, it's not someone's book that they wrote with a bunch of opinions. Like these are real documents with numbers and figures. So if you want that link, comment or shoot me a message or an email, and I will happily send you the link. And it baffles me that how much they teach about love and peace. It baffles me about that part of it, and then the other part is like opened it up with was, if this system is on the brink of total annihilation, like why are you tying up so much money that you get from members that members don't have any idea where that money is going or how it's being used? They just collect contributions, give you a little warm and fuzzy thank you letter, and that's the last you hear of that money. So it's like if this world is on the brink of annihilation, this whole system that's ruled by Satan, you say, like, why invest when you're telling the members just send the money, contribute to further kingdom interests? So putting stock in the military company is furthering kingdom interests. Like that's another red flag. And like I always tell you all, I post my information. I give you like facts and things to think about, but I'm never gonna like twist your arm and stop being a witness. But all I'm doing is giving you information, and I'm telling you, like, yeah, that raises a red flag. But yeah, great question, great catch. So if you want the link that shows you different investments that they have made, um, by all means, reach out to me, and I will happily share it with you because more people need to know. A lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and unfortunately, you have individuals like myself and lots of others who give different perspectives about that organization slash cult. But that's just another thing to add to it. Shady stock investments. So get that link from me if you want it. Oh, let me see. Sports. This individual said they, I think said he was a basketball player, and um, it's frowned upon to do any organized sports or extracurricular activities. The reason they give, and I mean, like in school, the reason they give, you're going to be rubbing shoulders too much with the world. You get that. Like when I was young, they used to say you get that locker room environment where they curse and they talk about wild parties and uh, they talk about committing immorality and they do commit immorality. So it's bad if you rub shoulders with these individuals any more than you have to. So you already have to go to school with them and attend classes. Why would you want to spend more time with them? So that's their basic mentality on that. Um, you're going to be rubbing shoulders too much with the world or those that don't have the same belief system that we have. And so, yeah, organized sports in school and any extracurricular activities are highly frowned upon. Um, amplify that if you are a youth in that organization and your father is like a pioneer or a servant, ministerial servant, or an elder, that's amplified. And being a servant or an elder, they expect you to have be an example, not only yourself but your family. And so, like their viewpoint, I'm giving you their viewpoint. How would it look if you are a ministerial servant or an elder and you're giving a part about being no part of the world or a bad association? But how would it look if your child knowingly amongst the current congregation played an organized sport at school? Like they say that would make you look bad. So I know for sure, like if you are a servant or an elder and you have a child that's playing football or playing basketball at school for their school team, and yeah, you're gonna get talked to by the elders for letting your child do that. So it's highly frowned upon. I'll tell you how crazy it is. I had a friend in Georgia, and like he was tall, um, loved basketball, wanted to play for school. Coaches always like bothered him, wanted him to play for the school team. So what his father did for him, can't remember if it was his junior or senior year, but his father was an elder, and his father kind of um, silenced himself, meaning he didn't give any parts for the whole while. My friend played basketball for the school. Like he didn't give any parts, and members of the congregation knew that he was playing basketball for the school. So it's just gossip and murmuring going on, and that's just the mentality for that. They highly frown upon it, and yeah, that's how deep it was that his father told the body, like, "Look, he's gonna play basketball. I'm not gonna give any parts, like, but I'm gonna let him play." And he played. He wasn't like a saint anyway. So it's like he probably corrupted his teammates, but it's like that's how crazy it is. In that religion slash cult, they that's how crazy and how high controlling it is. They don't want you rubbing shoulders with anyone, and it doesn't. Don't think it stop at school. They don't want you being like that at work either. Like going out for dinner or drinks with coworkers. Oh boy, like don't let them find that out. It's so high controlling. They don't want you around anyone, but especially like the extracurricular activities in school. Because think about it, they want these kids to just be indoctrinated, closed off from the world, and so you're hanging around them playing team sports. Like they're gonna mess with you mentally. They're gonna pull you away from the religion, and if you have a bunch of kids doing this and then going on their own path, that cuts down into their bottom line, which is money. It's losing members. So yeah, I think that's the main reason that they discourage extracurricular activities. It cuts down into their bottom line, which I mean that's what it's all about with them. Anything, excuse me, anything that happened or changed with them, like I'm just a cynic with them now, and that's what I think. Like making this change, what does it mean for their bottom line, which is money, which is basically what everything boils down to with them. Case in point, all the changes they keep making about appearance and things that were so important to them before for decades. Now all of a sudden, God has told them it's all right. It affects the bottom line, which is money. But I think that's what fuels overall the big scheme of things. I think that's what fuels the uh, extracurricular activity, playing sports, is that they feel these young ones may be like badly influenced, make them start thinking on their own apart from the organization, and they'll, distance themselves. They won't become an adult in the organization. That's less money, especially if this happens widespread. And I think that's why they've always discouraged. We have to go to school with people. We have to work with people. We're not in this bubble that they think we're in. And I just think it's another way they use to control people. And I know another brother. He's an elder now, but he even, he played basketball in high school. He even played in college, and he said he was a decent player, even in college. And s- spiritual life for he and his family had to halt while he was doing that. He eventually got out of it, got hurt, got out of it, and like I said, he's an elder now. But yeah, if you have anything to do with that, sports or school, just expect your spiritual life to be very different if you do it. And as far as I know, because the question they asked, um, was it any different now? I don't think it's any different. Y'all can comment if you think it is or see something different, but I think it's still the same. They highly discourage it, always have. This is an interesting question. Well, dealing with the governing body, how are they selected? Or is it from God or is it from Satan? How do we know how they're appointed governing body members? What do they go by? Um, it is the phrase governing body, no matter how much they try to tell you, but it wasn't. It's not in the Bible. You know, they say that they're the channel to God, basically. That um they guide God's people on earth today, the ministry and the finances as a governing body. And I'm like, I just have to read. Let's see here. That organized to do God's will book. Oh, it closed. I have to go back to it. Oh, there it is. Okay. I had the page saved, and I guess I kept the app closed too long because it closed. But I wanted to read to y'all like exactly what it said. I think it's chapter 3. Remember those taking the lead among you. Yeah. So it's chapter 3. Remember those taking the lead among you, and then the subheading identifying the faithful and discreet slave. And I'm just going to be skimming some of this. It's only fitting that Jesus would use anointed Christians on earth to feed his followers. The Bible refers to them as a royal priesthood who have been commissioned to declare abroad the excellencies of the one who called them out of this darkness into the wonderful light. The wonderful light. Wonder where that come from. Um, do all anointed Christians on earth make up the faithful slave? No. It says, so the faithful steward, the discreet one, is made up of a small group of anointed brothers who are directly involved in preparing and dispensing spiritual food during Christ's presence. Throughout the last days, the anointed brothers who constitute the faithful and discreet slave have served together at headquarters. Today, these anointed brothers make up the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that kind of answers your question. That's as much information as they want to give about that because it's a good old boy society. It's like they're telling you right there. It says they have served together at headquarters, the ones who make up the governing body. The biggest concern and question I've always had about that is, God is impartial. He doesn't care about race or nationality. Even as a boy, I'm like, why don't they have brothers from different parts of the world on the governing body? And I guess that answers it right there. It says anointed brothers who have served together at headquarters. So I guess Jehovah has told them governing body members can only, only be at headquarters, which is in New York, United States of America. That's interesting. But yeah, it's like they'll just pop up with a new governing body member. And you know, the members just have to wait for that new light to pop up. And then you'll see them on broadcast and doing their parts. And it's just, the more I read this, the more I just see because you asked, was it something from God or will it be something from Satan to, disrupt. I don't think God has anything to do with whatever they do. Honest opinion. Like, I just don't think God has anything to do with the governing body. I do feel that I do feel that they are members, all members of something else. Uh, I really do. And if you look at some of my other videos, you'll see what I'm talking about. And sometimes I'll refer to a kingdom hall as a kingdom Masonic hall. But I think that they are all connected to that, which is why like no one knows how they choose or how they pick a governing body member. But that's very telling that they said they have to be at headquarters. And I think it's just because of what they're involved in, the group they're involved in. That's why they said they have to be from headquarters to be part of the governing body, because you're sharing about this cult, this man made cult, and you have to bring them in a way that you know that you can trust them fully. And I think that's how it's because of that organization that they're a part of. And that's why the governing body is like anointed brothers from the headquarters in New York in the United States. Because apparently, like I said, God said to them, I only want the channel of communication to be between me and only the ones at headquarters can be governing body, part of this channel. So yeah, I do not believe in it. I believe it is a good old boy society, the governing body. They have their one token black, but other than that, it's just been white men. And I'm not one to make stuff racial, but that's just a fact. If you look at all the pictures of the governing body throughout the years, tell me the common denominator. And so I don't think it has anything to do with God, to answer your question. I think they are a part of an organization that has uh, very high ties to Satan. And so, yeah, I don't think there's anything spiritual about the governing body. And you have to share in its secrets to be a member of it. You know, it's, yeah, that's a twisted group of men right there. The last question: what do we need to trigger a mass wake up? That's kind of a tough question because the average Jehovah's Witness, the average active Jehovah's Witness, let me say it that way, they are very indoctrinated. They are very closed minded, very stubborn. And I say all that not to down them, and I'm very open. Like, that was me for decades. Like, that's just how they build us to be closed off, um, not ready to believe another ideal or possibility, just very hyper focused on the organization, protecting the organization, and not bringing reproach upon the organization. Like, that's how they build the cult members to be. And so, with that in mind, even the post that I make where I'm showing court documents, like, I'm going off facts, and it's dealing cases of CSA. and these predators that's being hidden in congregations around the world. And I will present facts, and it will show the prison time that this perp gets and everything they did wrong, and a witness will deflect and they'll say, "Oh, it's bad people in every religion, not up for topic." Like that's a known fact. Not talking about that. Or this is an isolated incident. Why not focus on more positive things? Because it's not isolated. And like the average active witness just don't want to hear. You don't want to hear anything bad about something you devoted your life, time, and energy to. And so I think, in my opinion, the biggest thing that could be a mass wake up call is, say if they got if the court systems and governments got a hold of this database that they want, and the database is full of names of people in congregations around the world that are known predators and involved with CSA cases, but they are allowed to stay in the congregation or to mingle with the congregation, even being around children. Like it's a whole database at headquarters that they have of names of these individuals. So say if it's a court order that they had to give up that database, that it's not privileged. If they know about a crime and they don't report it, it's not privileged. You have to uh, be like a reporter for the court and tell any wrongdoing to the proper authorities. Say if that happened, I can see witnesses snapping out of that frenzy that they're in to protect the organization. I could see some being awakened by that, snapping out and realizing what's happened. Now it's gonna hurt. Like when I first realized it and seeing, what they were doing and had proof, it hurts because you've dedicated your life to this organization. And so I think that would kind of snap some out of it and open their eyes and they would be like, wow, this has been happening. And to me, that would be the biggest thing that could snap people out of what they're going through and why they support it so much, that organization. Again, like you have to be realistic and just know that most of these witnesses are blinded, they're brainwashed, they're taught to repeat certain catchphrases, defensive catchphrases over and over. And you hear so much it makes you nauseous. Just that's what they're trained to do. But I think that would open more eyes. And I talk to people weekly on a weekly basis that say they had no idea about the things that I'm posting about and friends' accounts that I'm reposting and sharing. They said they had no idea about all of this. So I feel right now, slow and steady wins the race, especially if we present ourselves in a way that's not crazy or just all over the place, but just factual and just showing facts and giving details openly. I think that goes a long way. But yeah, I think if we had a substantial win, as far as them protecting these predators that are in congregations around the world, I think if there was a bigger, large scale win and it was very, very highly publicized, I think that would, if not open their eyes, I think it would at least plant that seed. Like they can't deny it. And I know the ones who come on my post defending it, like they can't deny it is right there, and they don't try to deny it, but they give those weak ass deflective, um, defensive catchphrases, and like I said, it's what they're taught to do. But I feel that would be the biggest way to open eyes because they're trained not to listen to us, those of us who have left the organization. They're trained not to listen to us. They're trained not to even uh, view our material or talk to us, but yet and still, I have active witnesses jump on my posts, making outrageous comments, hateful comments. Um, so they see it, they don't deny it, but they're just brainwashed right now. But I think that would be a huge win if like the government could get to that database, and then they're seeing real humans, real monsters that are allowed to be in these congregations. I even read a letter uh, of a body of elders and headquarters that know that it was a person that committed numerous murders, admitted it to the elders, but they didn't even tell his wife. They didn't tell the authorities. You know, they said it's like he confessed to his religious leaders. Is what they say in the letter. So it's yeah. I think that would be a huge wake up call for a lot of people, especially man. If you're a parent, I'm a parent, and that alarmed me. The things that I saw while I was in alarmed me. I didn't want them around my kids at the hall, and so I think that would be a huge wake up call. Well, I hope that I answered all of y'all's questions uh, well enough for you. If you want more detail, just send me an email or leave a comment. I'm gonna post this on my. I'll put it on my link tree, and it goes directly to YouTube as well. But this was fun. I liked it. Answering questions because I know a lot of y'all have questions and want to pick my brain. So I feel this would be a good way. Remember, if you want the more detailed or intricate questions, or those that may delve into adult material, then yeah, that needs to be on my subscription based episodes. And the subscription is only $7 a month, so nothing outrageous. Um, you can catch up to me on social media: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Most of them you can just find me EXJW, EXJDUB. Look up EXJW and you should pull me up. But this has been great. I look forward to doing another one of these where I answer your questions. Um, have a great day. Have a great week. Go and do great things.